What if the relentless pursuit of knowledge, the very path we're told will set us free, actually chains us to a more profound, more subtle kind of suffering? Imagine uncovering truths so vast, so intricate, they reshape your entire world, only to find that this new vision carries a weight few are prepared to bear. This isn't about ignorance being bliss, but about the untold burdens that accompany genuine enlightenment. This naturally leads to the experience of intellectual and emotional alienation. When your perception of reality fundamentally differs from those around you, genuine connection can become a rarity. Explaining your insights might be met with incomprehension, fear, or even hostility. This can foster a profound sense of loneliness, a feeling of being an outsider in a world you understand perhaps too well. The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, declared the wisest by the oracle, famously claimed, "I know that I know nothing." This isn't false modesty, it's a recognition of the vastness of ignorance that true wisdom unveils. The more one learns, the more one realizes how much remains unknown, how complex and mysterious existence truly is. This can be humbling but also daunting. This awareness of profound ignorance, paradoxically born from deep learning, can be a source of existential anxiety for some. The comfort of simple answers and dogmatic certainty is stripped away. Instead, one is left to navigate a universe of infinite questions, where definitive answers are scarce. This requires a robust intellectual and emotional fortitude, a willingness to live with ambiguity. Another challenge is the burden of seeing patterns, both positive and negative, that others miss. This precognitive or deeply intuitive understanding of consequences can be distressing, especially when attempts to warn or guide are dismissed. It's like watching a slow-motion catastrophe unfold, armed with the knowledge of how it might be averted, yet powerless to intervene effectively. The pursuit of wisdom often demands a departure from the well-trodden paths of conventional life. This can mean sacrificing material comforts, social status, or the approval of peers and family. The inner calling to understand, to seek truth, can set one on a trajectory that seems strange or even foolish to the mainstream, leading to misunderstanding and a lack of conventional support systems. Furthermore, genuine wisdom isn't static. It's a dynamic process of continuous learning and unlearning. This requires constant self-examination, a willingness to confront one's own biases, prejudices, and limitations. This internal work can be arduous and uncomfortable, demanding a level of honesty that many shy away from. It is a form of inner alchemy, transmuting leaden ignorance into golden understanding, but the fire can be intense. The dark night of the soul, a concept from mystical traditions, often describes a period of spiritual desolation and emptiness that can precede profound insight. This isn't necessarily a part of everyone's journey to wisdom, but for some, the stripping away of old identities and beliefs can feel like a painful void, a necessary winter before the spring of new understanding. Wisdom can also bring a heightened awareness of impermanence. While this can lead to a greater appreciation for the present moment, it also means a deeper understanding of loss, of the transient nature of all things, beauty, relationships, life itself. This can be a source of profound sadness, even as it liberates one from attachment to the ephemeral. The weight of knowledge can also manifest as a difficulty in experiencing simple, uncomplicated joy. When one is constantly analyzing, deconstructing, and seeking deeper meaning, the capacity for spontaneous, unreflective happiness can diminish. It's as if the mind, trained for depth, struggles to float on the surface where much of life's simple pleasures reside. This requires a conscious effort to re-engage. There's also the burden of knowing too much in a practical sense. In positions of leadership or influence, a wise individual might foresee negative consequences of popular decisions, yet be constrained by political realities or public opinion from acting on that foresight. This creates an ethical tension, a conflict between what is known to be right and what is currently feasible or acceptable. We are all in our own ways seekers. We crave clarity, a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe. Yet, the traditional narratives of wisdom often present it as a pure ascent, a flawless diamond cut and polished, reflecting only light. But is this the whole truth? Or is it a comforting, perhaps even necessary, half-truth, designed to encourage the first steps on a path far more complex than it appears? The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer spoke of the world as will and representation, suggesting that increased intellect leads to increased capacity for suffering. While a controversial view, it highlights the idea that a more refined nervous system and a greater capacity for abstract thought can make one more susceptible to existential angst and the perception of life's inherent tragedies. This isn't to say that wisdom is inherently negative. Far from it. The benefits, clarity, compassion, inner peace, resilience, are immense and transformative. However, a mature understanding of wisdom acknowledges its multifaceted nature, its light and its shadow. To ignore the potential burdens is to pursue a sanitized, incomplete version of enlightenment. The challenge, then, is not to avoid these burdens, but to integrate them, to develop the strength to carry the weight of insight, the compassion to bear the world's sorrows without being crushed, and the humility to accept the vastness of the unknown. This integration is itself a profound aspect of true wisdom. One way to navigate these challenges is through cultivating equanimity, a state of psychological stability and composure undisturbed by experience of or exposure to emotions, pain, or other phenomena that may cause others to lose the balance of their mind. It's not indifference, but a deep, centered calm that allows one to observe and engage without being overwhelmed. Finding like-minded individuals, even if few, can also alleviate the sense of isolation. Communities of seekers, philosophical discussion groups, or even a single trusted confidant can provide a space to share insights and burdens, fostering a sense of belonging and mutual understanding. The journey may be individual, but connection can make the path less arduous. The creative arts have historically served as an outlet for those grappling with profound truths. Poetry, music, painting. These can be ways to process and express the ineffable, to communicate the complexities of wisdom's vision in a way that transcends purely rational discourse. It is a language for the soul's deeper experiences. Moreover, wisdom can teach the importance of self-compassion, recognizing that the burdens are real and that feeling their weight is not a sign of weakness, but of sensitivity and depth, allows for a kinder, more forgiving relationship with oneself. One learns to carry the load with grace rather than resentment. The responsibility that comes with insight can also be reframed. Instead of a crushing weight, it can become a guiding principle, a motivation to contribute positively, however small the contribution may seem. Wisdom is not just about seeing, but about acting in accordance with that sight, finding meaning in purposeful engagement. The disillusionment, while initially painful, ultimately clears the way for a more authentic engagement with reality. By stripping away comforting falsehoods, wisdom allows for the construction of a worldview based on deeper, more resilient truths. This foundation, though perhaps less adorned, is far more stable in the long run. The awareness of impermanence, too, has its brighter side. It can lead to a profound appreciation for the present moment, a cherishing of experiences and connections precisely because they are fleeting. This is the bittersweet beauty that wisdom unveils, the preciousness of now in the face of eternity. What if the brightest light of understanding inevitably casts the deepest shadows? This exploration ventures into those shadowed valleys, examining the burdens rarely spoken of, the silent toll that true wisdom can exact upon the soul. It's a journey into the psychological and existential landscapes where illumination meets a stark, often unsettling reality that most prefer to ignore or simply cannot perceive. Ultimately, the dark side of wisdom is not a flaw in wisdom itself, but rather an inherent characteristic of a profound engagement with the totality of existence. It is the price of admission for a richer, deeper, more authentic life. The shadows are cast because the light is so intensely bright. Schools and conventional teachings often focus on wisdom as a tool for success, for problem solving, for societal advancement. And it is all of those things. But they rarely prepare us for the internal shifts, the existential reckonings, the profound solitude that can accompany its deepest currents. This is a gap in our collective education about what it truly means to be wise. Consider the allegory of Plato's cave. The philosopher who escapes and sees the sun, truth, is initially blinded, and upon returning to the cave, is met with disbelief and ridicule by those still content with shadows. This ancient story perfectly encapsulates the alienation and the burden of trying to communicate a reality others cannot or will not see. The discomfort of wisdom often arises from this very dissonance, the gap between one's internal landscape of understanding and the external landscape of collective consensus. Navigating this gap requires immense patience, both with oneself and with others. It demands a kind of diplomacy of truth, sharing what can be shared and holding what cannot yet be understood. The path of wisdom is not for the faint of heart. It asks for courage, the courage to question, the courage to see, the courage to feel, and ultimately, the courage to be different. This isn't about arrogance, but about an unwavering commitment to truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable or inconvenient. Many esoteric traditions speak of gatekeepers or trials on the path to higher knowledge. These can be interpreted not just as external obstacles, but as internal psychological hurdles, the very burdens we've discussed. Overcoming them, or rather, integrating them, is part of the initiation into deeper levels of understanding. It's crucial to differentiate between the burdens of wisdom and cynicism or nihilism. While wisdom sees the flaws and suffering, it does not necessarily lead to a rejection of meaning or value. Instead, it can cultivate a deeper, more resilient form of hope, one tempered by reality but not extinguished by it. A hope that understands the darkness but still chooses light. The loneliness of wisdom can also be a sacred solitude. In the quiet spaces away from the noise of the mundane, profound insights can crystallize. This solitude, when embraced, becomes a sanctuary for contemplation and connection with deeper aspects of the self and the universe. It is not an empty loneliness, but a fulfilling aloneness. The responsibility that wisdom brings can also be its greatest gift. It transforms the seeker from a passive observer into an active participant in the cosmic drama, however small their role. To know, and then to act from that knowing with integrity and compassion, is to live a life of profound purpose. Perhaps the most profound aspect of wisdom's dark side is its capacity to humble. It dismantles arrogance and self-importance by revealing the sheer scale of what is not known, the limits of individual understanding, and our shared vulnerability in a vast, mysterious cosmos. This humility is the fertile ground from which true compassion grows. Consider the experience of seeing the intricate machinery of the world, its gears grinding with both breathtaking beauty and inescapable brutality, while many around you perceive only a smoothly painted, comforting surface. This profound clarity, this ability to see behind the veil, can become an intensely lonely vista, isolating the seer from the shared illusions that bind societies together. So, how does one prepare for this less discussed facet of the journey? Firstly, by acknowledging its existence, by understanding that the path to light may indeed pass through shadow, and that this is not a detour but an integral part of the terrain. Forewarned is, to some extent, forearmed. Cultivating emotional resilience is paramount. Practices like mindfulness, meditation, and reflective journaling can help build the inner fortitude needed to process difficult truths and manage the emotional impact of heightened awareness. These are tools for navigating the inner world as much as the outer. Embracing paradox is also key. Wisdom often reveals that opposing truths can coexist. The world can be both beautiful and brutal, meaningful and absurd, simple and infinitely complex. Holding these tensions without needing to resolve them into simplistic answers is a hallmark of a mature intellect. The pursuit of wisdom should not be a solitary endeavor driven by ego, but ideally one tempered by love and service. When insight is yoked to compassion, its potential burdens are transformed into motivations for connection and contribution, lessening the sting of isolation and the weight of knowing. Love provides the why. Understand that wisdom is not an endpoint but a continuous unfolding. There will be periods of clarity and joy, and periods of confusion and sorrow. This ebb and flow is natural. The goal is not to escape the human condition, but to experience it more deeply, more consciously, and with greater understanding. The unacknowledged burdens of wisdom are, in essence, growing pains of the soul. They signify an expansion of consciousness, a deepening of empathy, and a more intimate relationship with reality in all its multifaceted glory and terror. They are tests of our capacity to hold complexity and to find meaning beyond easy answers. It's important to remember that historical figures often revered for their wisdom, philosophers, mystics, reformers, frequently wrote of their own struggles, doubts, and periods of darkness. Their wisdom was forged in these fires, not in their absence. Their texts are testaments to navigating this very shadow side. Thus, the dark side of wisdom is not something to be feared or avoided, but to be understood, respected, and integrated. It is what gives wisdom its depth, its resilience, and its profound relevance to the human condition. Without acknowledging these shadows, our pursuit of light remains superficial, a mere caricature of true enlightenment. Key takeaways from this exploration remind us that genuine wisdom often brings heightened sensitivity to suffering, potential for disillusionment and alienation, and a profound sense of responsibility. It demands courage, resilience, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, both internal and external. These are not failures of the path, but features of it. Acknowledging these challenges allows for a more holistic and sustainable pursuit of understanding. It fosters self-compassion for the struggles encountered and encourages the development of inner resources necessary to navigate them. True wisdom isn't about escaping life's difficulties, but about meeting them with greater depth and capacity. We will delve into the psychological frontiers where insight meets isolation, where truth brings not just liberation, but also a profound, often uncomfortable, responsibility. This is the wisdom they don't teach in formal institutions, the kind that is rarely inscribed in gilded texts, but which is absolutely vital to truly comprehend if one is to navigate the fullness of existence. It's about understanding the price of seeing. So, as you walk your own path of inquiry and understanding, remember that the shadows are as much a part of the landscape as the light. They are teachers in their own right, offering lessons in humility, resilience, and the profound interconnectedness of all things. The question then becomes, are you willing to embrace the whole of wisdom, its burdens alongside its blessings? The first burden is often an amplified sensitivity to suffering. As the veils of ignorance fall, the raw, unfiltered pain of the world becomes acutely perceptible. It's no longer an abstract concept, but a visceral reality. The wise individual may feel the collective sorrow more deeply, witnessing injustice and hardship with an awareness that can be emotionally overwhelming. This isn't pessimism, but a consequence of heightened empathy and expanded consciousness. This heightened awareness of suffering is not merely observational. It often translates into a profound sense of responsibility. Knowing the interconnectedness of all things, the wise may feel compelled to act, to alleviate, to mend. Yet, the sheer scale of the world's problems can lead to feelings of helplessness or the crushing weight of an impossible task, a burden that can erode peace of mind even as it fuels noble intentions. Then there is the pain of disillusionment. Many societal norms, cherished beliefs, and comforting illusions are built on fragile foundations. Wisdom often involves seeing through these constructs, recognizing them as necessary perhaps for social cohesion, but ultimately untrue in a deeper sense. This can lead to a painful shedding of previously held certainties, leaving a void that can be difficult to fill, a sense of standing on shifting sands. This disillusionment can extend to personal relationships and societal structures. The wise individual may find it increasingly difficult to engage in superficial conversations or to accept societal values driven by materialism, ego, or unexamined traditions. What others see as normal or even desirable can appear hollow or misguided through the lens of deeper understanding, creating a subtle but pervasive disconnect.